Even after attempting to save his daughter 99 times, every effort ended in disaster, with her dying each time. It all began when humanity started turning into zombies, causing the collapse of the entire world. One desperate father did everything he could to fight against the undead and protect his beloved daughter, but he was powerless. It didn't take long for both of them to push up daisies. Instead of finally resting in peace, he's summoned by a goddess who grants him 99 lives. Basically, he can die 99 times and come back again and again, just so he can try to survive. He begins his quest to protect his daughter from scratch. And so, this vicious cycle of dying and being sent back in time continues. Each time he regresses, he tries to do better than before, only to end up defeated. Even then, this superdad never loses hope. He stubbornly clings to the only goal he has in mind. Even if it means repeating this hellish loop tens of thousands of times, he'll gladly do it, so long as there's a chance to rescue his daughter from this nightmare. On his second-to-last attempt, he finally reaches a fortified sanctuary where he could have found refuge under military protection. But by the time he finds it, his daughter is already gone. Instead of taking his life and starting over, he accepts this tragic fate and lives out the rest of his days like a normal person. But even after all those years, his longing to save his daughter never leaves him. Eventually, desperate to reunite with her, he takes his own life, redeeming his final chance to save her. As he stands there after returning, fully prepared to move forward, he recalls how he had once reached that shelter, Dijon, but he was never able to make it there with his daughter alive. And it was all because of his past mistakes. This time he's ready. Equipped with every ounce of experience he's gained throughout this brutal journey, he assures himself that he won't repeat those mistakes. He opens the front gate cautiously, determined to finally begin his journey to Dijon. But he's hit with a reality check he never anticipated. Unlike previous attempts, where the area was clear, this time his doorstep is overrun with the undead. The entire street is swarming with zombies, rushing in like it's a Black Friday sale on toilet paper. This unprecedented development leaves him frozen in shock. After all, in 99 tries, he's never once seen something like this. The undead don't even let him finish his inner monologue before they're already on him. His daughter snaps him out of it. He quickly pushes her back into the house and slams the door shut behind him, sacrificing himself just to buy her a little more time. She pleads with him, begging for him to open the door, but this giga-chad of a man is dead set on taking this L alone. Even as his flesh is ripped apart, he clenches his jaw. No way in hell this is enough to shake his will, not when he's come this far. After experiencing death nearly 99 times, getting torn apart once more doesn't faze him. Images flash through his mind, warm memories of the bond he once shared with his daughter when she was just a toddler. Just like he adored her back then, he adores her just as fiercely now. That unbreakable bond reignites his determination. He refuses to die a pathetic death at the hands of these damned monsters. Something inside him awakens. An inhuman strength surges through his body. With one powerful push, he lifts a dozen zombies on his shoulders and flings them like trash bags in every direction. It's as if the couch potato dad just transformed into a super dad, powered by pure love. One unfortunate zombie thinks it's a good idea to challenge him. It learns the hard way. The dad rips through the horde like they're paper. When one zombie bites him, he bites back, with 10 times the force. At the same time, he drills his fist straight through another corpse's chest. And then, leaping into the air, he slams a zombie into the ground like a goddamn meteor. Even the remaining brain-dead ones seem to realize they messed with the wrong dad. Now he's out here aura farming, rocking a body that looks like it was forged in war. A single glare from this devoted father is enough to send the undead retreating in fear. Meanwhile, his daughter has calmed down inside the house. The gate creaks open, and light of hope pours in. The sight on the other side of the door makes her heart skip a beat momentarily. Her father stands before her, alive, powerful, and built like a Greek god, his jacked body radiating strength and aura. A body that could make single moms across the city weak in the knees. Entering day 7 of the outbreak, we shift the perspective to the capital Seoul. In the Mapo district, there is a specific grocery haven called the A-Mart. Why is that information important? Because in the next scene, we come to discover a group of soldiers angrily guarding at the entrance, questioning how 2 survivors managed to come all the way here, especially when the entire district is swarming with zombies. Looming over from the dark, Minsok grows closer, while the egghead soldier becomes so angry that I'm starting to think his head will explode. By the way, just about every single one of them are currently aiming right at our boy, ready to shoot at any moment. The man in charge questions what happened to our guy's face, and he funnily concludes that Minsok must be some kind of celebrity for wearing those cool sunglasses. That's a hilarious conclusion, but it's a favorable one, I guess. Making her debut in the story, a baddie captain steps up and tells both of them to get lost. This woman is dubbed the Black Widow, and I'm guessing after dying in Avengers Endgame, Natasha reincarnated into this story. Anyway, Cha Hyeri is pretty adamant about her stance, and deeply distrusts the two of them, declaring that they won't find any shelter here so they should get moving. She even makes a point by going all up in his damn face just to say fudge off. But to the surprise of her two big personalities, Min-seok starts frowning about his daughter's deteriorating condition. He claims that after traveling aimlessly for an entire week, Dami's asthma condition is becoming concerning. Long story short, he begs her to save his daughter, and thanks to his Oscar-winning acting skills, Bro goes as far as to say that he's fine sacrificing his own life as long as they protect his beloved child. His display of affection for his daughter leaves the captain baffled for one moment, and then pissed off in the next. Even Egghead from earlier thinks it's a stupid stunt coming from Min-seok, especially when their captain is a cold brute who doesn't really give a flying fuck about anyone's emotions. And then we cut to the funniest part of the chapter. Egghead turns his head and his jaw drops after seeing his captain's pathetic face. Girl can barely contain her emotions after hearing the story, and ends up having a change of heart. Hyeri allows the two of them to join the survivors, justifying that they need more manpower. But everyone knows it's not because of that, because deep down she seems like a softie. But let's expertly break down what really went down. You see, this man Min-seok is one hell of a gaslighter, and I really mean that. Bro actually smiles to see the captain's unchanging nature. In his previous encounters with her, he learned that she's a retired soldier, and yet, Hyeri became responsible for gathering a great deal of survivors, and did everything to protect the shelter. On the exterior, she's the most brutal woman one can imagine, so much so that it's best to compare her to a merciless serpent. But actually, her one single weak spot is hearing sob stories of parents sacrificing their lives for their children. That's how he meticulously exploited her in his encounter. But Dami is pretty damn pissed off about his stunt just now, because she didn't like the fact that he was ready to abandon her. Still, she keeps up her facade of being an asthma patient and keeps coughing like a dead rat. Even the soldier is annoyed, but the reality is, only Min-seok knows the truth. He can see that his daughter's mental condition is at an all-time low, even worse than all of his previous runs. It's important to secure her safety firsthand. The part that bugs him the most is the occurrence of two unpredictable variables. Because only in this life has he experienced a shift in the timeline based off of what happened a week ago. Then there's him, who was bitten by zombies and somehow ended up getting superpowers for it. It's almost like he has become foreign to his own body, to the point it wouldn't be far-fetched to call Min-seok a zombie anymore. Let's explore the early stages of survival. You see, the mart promises plenty of supplies and resources for them to enjoy. Not just that, the place is heavily guarded too, ensuring proper protection. Strangely, he discovers a collapsed building just next to it, because he'd never seen something like that happen before. The soldier is surprised by his admission, and even calls him out for acting like he's seen the future or something. Anyway, he talks about the incident that took root 3 days ago. A bunch of zombies began attacking them out of nowhere, and the captain, being selfless as she is, lured them all away by herself inside that same building. With the place filled with bloodthirsty zombies to the brim, this woman annihilated the building using explosives they had set up in advance. The whole building collapsed, and in its obliteration, the zombies were crushed. With the way things are right now, they can be compared to rubble and dust, because they're definitely not getting up after that. And even if some survived, they can't escape the collapsed building. Suddenly the soldier looks at Min-seok, who appears to have a frightened look on his face. At first, Egghead begins to laugh, mocking him for acting like some zombies are going to come out of nowhere. But that's the irony, because right as he says those words, a goddamn colossal zombie creeps up from behind. The fat father of all crazies towers over the tiny soldier, rearing its terrifying mutated appearance. The same Egghead is reduced to a puddle without words, and well, bro fucked around a bit too much and is about to find out. The colossal beast raises its arm before unleashing its titanic punch, decimating the human with a single attack. But that's not all. This same zombie makes its way to Captain Hyeri and nearly gets her too. Thanks to her incredible evasive abilities, the baddie is able to dodge just in time, while her men are shocked at the sight of zombies and wonder where they even came from. Readying her units at once, she commands them to open fire at the ugly bastard. The soldiers unleash a wave of gunfire, but big old Steve over here literally eats all of their bullets and aurifarms at the same time. The monstrous creature releases a deafening roar before lunging itself upon the soldiers. The massacre begins with a single uppercut taking out 3 of Hyeri's men. One poor guy is left defenseless, frightened for life. And for some reason, the zombie decides to use both his arms just to smash him to pieces. Fortunately, the selfless captain uses her backpack as the perfect distraction and manages to rescue him away from danger. She reminds the clown to maintain his composure if he wants to live. The baddie captain is lost in her thoughts and tries to regain her composure, realizing that they're no longer facing an ordinary zombie. Her first cause for concern is the mart, and recalling that it's a safe haven, she leads the survivors towards it. Of course, as they're bolting ahead, Min-seok tries to talk his way through, only for Hyeri to tell him to shut his ass up and keep moving those legs. The problem is, Dami is facing trouble keeping up, activating our boy's fatherly instincts. The Gucci version of Nanami makes a turn to face the ugly pile of zombie meat, and pouring his everything into a punch, he rages to fight the beast using only his hands. Let's switch to the perspective of Hieri, who intends to lure the monstrous zombie to a special barricade they built right outside the mart. The barricade is so sturdy and thick that there's absolutely no way for anything to take it apart, even if it's a colossal zombie. With this, Hieri will be able to delay their doom until they can focus on exploiting its weak spot. But then, a horrific realization looms over her when she spots the survivors waiting on the first floor. I'm gonna take a pause and admire that gyat, because clearly Hieri's perfect in every way. Anyway, the severity of the situation has just become so much worse with the rest of the survivors waiting here. This causes for a change of plans, as the captain makes an immediate halt, cursing at the situation. She's not gonna let the monster hurt these people, so she intends to distract it all on her own. Now that's how you write a badass female character. But when Hieri turns to look at Dami, she's astonished that her father's nowhere to be found. The captain gets infuriated because she did all of that effort just for Dami's dad to abandon his own daughter. The girl points the captain to a different direction, implying that Minseok's over there. Surprised but still caked out, the captain gazes at the scene in sheer astonishment. You see, she's actually seeing our boy bash the ever-living daylights out of the zombie's head, crushing it and smashing it until its head is all battered. Minseok finally ends the zombie's life with one final attack, leaving even the battle-hardened soldiers at a loss for words. The scene is so gruesome that the survivors can't bear to look at it. Having ended the zombie's life, our boy casually regains his breath, acting like he didn't just take down a behemoth with his bare hands just now. Facing him with suspicion and shock is Captain Hieri, who can't even bear to make sense of what happened. Minseok doesn't care about anyone. The first thing he does is apologize to his beloved daughter for breaking his promise and exposing himself like this. He openly confesses that he cares more about his daughter's safety even more than his own secret, which is why he took action. But the situation has become complicated now that Hieri is extremely wary of this man, so much so that she points a gun straight at him, questioning his real identity. Looking ripped out like a damn gigachad, Minseok officially introduces himself and begins to take off his glasses. The fact that he's going this far causes his beloved daughter great worry, because she fears that if he reveals his true identity, the soldiers will kill him. The scene comes to a chilling conclusion when Minseok names himself a zombie, before adding the word expert ahead of it. His words cause the atmosphere to go dead silent, causing both Hieri and his daughter to be confused because what the hell is a zombie expert? Activating his Gaslighter Pro Max skills, Minseok explains that ever since the outbreak of the apocalypse, he's been going around analyzing the weaknesses of each zombie and what makes them vulnerable. That's how he was able to kill the beefy dude earlier, and that he's actually thrilled to help them all. At first, Hieri looks at him with a smile, pleasantly laughing at his excuse. But then she goes batshit crazy and puts a knife to his throat, showing that she doesn't buy his fuck-ass story one bit. When Dami tries to intervene, she tells her to shut up, because the fact of the matter is clear. This man, being the ordinary human that he is, was able to smash a creature to bits with his bare hands, the same zombie that appeared invincible in the face of bullets. But even more suspicious are his dark red eyes, no different than the zombies. Going all up in his face, she demands to know if Minseok is even human at this point. And damn, the girl is a few inches away from practically kissing him at this point. Zombie Papa denies her words, stating that the bullets from earlier actually did achieve a considerable amount of damage. The captain is confused, so he further adds that the zombie was already pretty damn weak from the bullets alone. All he had to do was finish the fight by dealing the final blow. This class of zombies is called the Eater class, and they're formed when multiple zombies fuse together. Man, these zombies are taking inspiration from the fusion dance of Dragon Ball Z. Thanks to their fused bodies, they gain another level of impenetrable durability. However, durable as this zombie can be, there is one glaring weakness. That weakness is targeting its neck. As he shares this explanation, Minseok internalizes that technically he's not stating any lies, even though it's true that any ordinary punches wouldn't have been able to kill the monster. Hieri objects to his eyes, to which he casually tells her that he shares a genetic condition, causing his eyes to be lacking in melanin. It's actually the main reason he covers his eyes in the first place, because he knows that other people look at him weirdly, just like the captain is doing right now. With both of her concerns clarified, Minseok takes control of the conversation and questions if the captain still believes he's a zombie. The captain draws a concerned and skeptical look on her face. Despite his words, she can't help but shake off the feeling that something about this man just doesn't add up. But even then, the one convincing factor about him is that if he was a zombie, he would have lost his mind and wouldn't ever bother protecting his daughter. Thanks to that, Hieri ends up persuaded and turns away, allowing both of them to take shelter inside the mall. With her Jupiters turned to our screen, Captain Guyot does leave a reminder to Minseok that she's going to be keeping a close eye on this so-called expert. Ultimately, Hieri takes a second to process the loss of her men, feeling extremely guilty over the scene. Right away, two of her soldiers quickly come up to check on her state. The captain wastes no time and bashes one of the guy's knees, making him drop to the ground in agony. The reason she's doing this is to punish the idiots for not following her orders. Because of their disobedience to evacuate the civilians to the underground level, they nearly jeopardized the safety of all the survivors. Hyeri learns that these clowns ended up panicking and forgot about her orders, but she's even more pissed because their mistake could have cost the lives of everyone in the mall. Giving them a terrifying glare, she strongly expresses that she's going to be the one killing them next time if they make another blunder. Saying so, she walks away in frustration. But apparently the guy she kicked appears to have some kind of resentment towards her, implying that something's going to happen in the future. Anyway, let's go back to the mart. On the inside, the survivors are resting, including Minseok and his daughter. Dami is genuinely glad that his secret didn't come out, because she was terrified when he started talking. She also can't believe that her papa over here can lie while acting naturally. Minseok expresses that Hyeri isn't the type of person who was going to be convinced easily, so he had to give it his all. The way he talks about her makes Dami wonder if they know each other. Her words cause a memory flooding down in our boy's mind. In reality, in most of the regressions he experienced, he formed a really good relationship with the captain, which is why he knows her so well. Of course, he doesn't let his daughter know about any of this. Interestingly, Dami is surprised her father knows about the term bluff, because it's a term only the kids know apparently. Zombie Papa smiles at her and reveals that she's the one who taught him all of that. In fact, thanks to the 100 lifetimes they shared, he was able to learn a lot from her. Dami is really impressed, even though she doesn't remember any of it, while her father decides to go off and fetch her a good meal. The girl is genuinely confused and tries her best to remember, but seeing her confused and cute state only makes Minseok happier. You see, when he actually got his new powers, his daughter wanted him to make a promise. She wanted him to keep his secret to his dying grave, because if they came to know more about him, they'll hurt him out of fear. That's how they came to protect his secret, and in reality, his daughter is actually right. Minseok navigates the mart and internalizes his thoughts, knowing that if his identity slipped up here, the rest of the survivors will be tossed into a state of panic. A little while later, he eventually returns to his daughter with some food, but by the time he's back, she's already sleeping like a log from exhaustion. Minseok covers her up in a blanket to make sure she's resting nice and cozy, and then turns his attention to the critical problem. The zombies are even faster than before, and not just that, hundreds of them swarmed his door at the beginning. More mutations are on the rise, and it's only been a week of outbreak. At a speed this rapid, things are going bad. In fact, none of it was like in any of his previous lives, forcing the situation to create even more variables than before. The big question still lingers in his mind. Just why are the zombies changing so fast? To answer this, he has a best guess. It's actually because of his own influence. The scene cuts to the cityscape, and just outside of it, hundreds of mutated zombies are drawing closer and closer. With every step they take, Minseok senses them and feels their arrival. It's as if the entire horde is out to hunt him and his daughter, to put an end to the one man that could stop them. Though he's uncertain if these zombies fear him, or whether they're disturbed by his existence, the only undeniable fact is that these bloodthirsty bastards view him as a variable from their side too. He's the only man capable of stopping him. So what does our boy do? He goes right outside the city, meeting them before they could even invade. Standing all on his own in the middle of nowhere, he welcomes the gathered horde for making his job a hell of a lot easier. Minseok has arrived with a ladder in hand, because of course my man has to style for extra points. As the horde of terrifying zombies stare him down, he welcomes them to start the show. But first off, Bro breaks the ladder in two, arming himself with the ultimate weapon of destruction, stronger than any gun. Minseok hopes to end this fight before his daughter wakes up, because he's gonna go and have to cook her a nice meal. The confidence this man is radiating is through the roof. So as you can expect, the ugly fuckers march ahead to attack him. Dozens of them at once are mounting on top of each other, just to get a chance to tear the human before them. In response, Ladderman ravages ahead, slicing and nailing the zombies with a speed so insane that they don't even have the time to react. He's not just dealing with regular zombies, mind you, but mutations too. Bro is bashing their skulls in, kicking them down and punching so hard that it only takes one damn hit to annihilate an Eater-class zombie for him. With that thing pulverized, he turns to the dozen other mutations, who unleash some kind of explosive to take him out. Yup, these zombies out here attempting Kai blasts too now. But not to worry, because the Ladderman jumps all the way to the top and descends with a shockwave, destroying all of them at once. He also whips out his trusty axes to slice and dice them with even faster speeds. Seconds turn into minutes as he goes on to unleash his fury. A six-armed ugly-faced zombie tries to stop him, only to get his face stomped in the face Gojo Satoru style. Bro chops off its head with maximum aura, all the while his daughter is fast asleep. In the next scene, Dami ends up waking up, stretching her body as she meets the sight of her beloved father. Yes, the same guy who probably annihilated 100 zombies earlier is back before she even woke up. And not just that, man's got a meal ready too. A nice breakfast with a heart for Dami, knowing that she must feel hungry after everything that happened. She's pretty happy and smiles at him before digging in. In the next scene, the perspective shifts to the captain's office. Her men have come to inform her about the enormous sounds they heard past midnight. Shockingly, when they arrived at the scene, what they discovered completely left them speechless. All of the zombies had been massacred and wiped clean. Hieri slams the table, questioning how the hell something like that could even happen, or if the zombies began tearing each other apart. The soldier explains that though he couldn't believe the situation, it's what he saw with his own eyes. In the span of 4 hours, all of the zombies in the vicinity were demolished. Then suddenly an idea sparks her mind. Hieri suggests her men gather the survivors, because they've finally secured themselves the golden chance to escape the mart. Shifting to the perspective of the survivors, they peer their eyes to the shock of a beautiful and quiet day. Though there's blood on the streets, it's shocking that not a single zombie has been spotted nearby. The people begin to celebrate, even wondering where the zombies went. One of them even mentions how there's no sound of their grunting and roaring. All signs point to one possibility, that miraculously, all of the zombies have exited the area. It's a cause for celebration for these folks, who after living a life of terror ever since the apocalypse broke out, finally get a chance to experience a sense of safety and relief. Even Dami is confused and mentions to her father that maybe the zombies really did disappear in the end. Little does this girl know, her papa decided to run a city-wide fade check on the fuckers only last night. He slaps a helmet on top of her head and addresses her with caution. Minseok has only one instruction for his daughter, that no matter what happens, she will make sure she doesn't take off the helmet. His words imply a hint of something terrible happening in the future, making his daughter question what he means. Their conversation is interrupted by Captain Hieri and her men arriving at the mall with a megaphone in hand. She raises it before using it for an immediate announcement, addressing the mysterious deaths of the zombies of the entire area. With her practically confirming the zombies being thoroughly wiped out, the people only cheer in celebration and joy, expressing relief at their safety. But these guys are about to experience a real betrayal, because right after sharing that news, Hieri goes on to tell them that they'll all be exiting the area right away. Her words are shocking and extremely baffling for the survivors who finally had a chance to have a break. They express their clear objections to leaving, sharing that there isn't any need to evacuate with the zombies gone. To that, Hieri decides to share a new piece of information with them. Only 3 days ago, they lost radio communication with another unit called the 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade. This wasn't your average brigade because it managed to survive all of the atrocities in the Gyeonggi region. What's even more impressive is that they've got proper armored vehicles and a powerful force, allowing them to easily guard and protect any surviving civilians. Though her words are supposed to be optimistic, her announcement throws everyone in a sudden panic. The survivors just can't accept throwing their lives away based on a single radio call that they can't even confirm anymore. They've all got their own complaints, while Hieri assures them with conviction that she knows someone from the other side. Codenamed the Blue Hawk, there's a competent soldier leading the brigade. I have to pause and admire that sculpted back. It's like Bro's back has its own back. Anyway, the problem is, even though Hieri knows this guy and trusts him completely, the same can't be said for the dozens of survivors who don't know any better. They just can't accept throwing themselves in immediate danger based off of a radio transmission. The crowd is getting out of control, and Hieri is losing it too. She tries her best to explain that they won't be able to survive another raid if the zombies show up again. But the citizens are falsely comforted by their present and think that staying in one place is the best option as the zombies won't return. One guy from the survivor group gets pissed off and roars his complaint. Bro thinks that Hieri is making a hasty decision based on her feelings because she's a woman. I imagine this guy must be taking lessons from Andrew Tate because what kind of logic is even that? This simple and retarded approach actually lures the rest of the crowd to pin the blame entirely on Hieri. Finally breaking his silence, the zombie expert GigaChad steps in to silence everyone with a bone-chilling reminder. The zombies are gonna return, whether they like it or not. The same dumb dude who called Hieri an ineffective leader just now tries to take issue with our boy too, but Daddy Minseok over here simply takes one look at him and reminds the room temperature IQ clown that by staying here, they're gonna be serving the new horde of zombies a fresh meal. By the way, Minseok scares the ever-living crap out of the guy with his fearsome visualization of what will actually go down. He calls out the guy's bullshit and leaves him frightened in shock, so much so that even the guy's own daughter is wondering what scared him. Back to Papa Minseok, he makes it clear that there's no guarantee whether they'll survive the transition phase to group up with the brigade. However, his words only inspire fear and uncertainty in the survivors, who don't want to bank their chances on something that doesn't guarantee their safety. To play them at their own little game, Minseok stands against the crowd and decides to ask them a little question. What happens if these guys stopped receiving any help from the soldiers and didn't listen to sensible orders? His reasonable question puts the crowd in a state of contemplation as they begin to bicker against each other. All of a sudden, certain supporters from the crowd actually start believing in Hieri's approach, realizing that they got zero shot of surviving the apocalypse with the help of the soldiers. Clark Kent over here with the glasses even declares that the only reason they survived thus far is thanks to the help of Hieri's group. That one simple question ends up regaining their faith, as they cheer and chant to trust the decisions of their leaders to survive the apocalypse. Though she achieved her goal, Hyeri is left stupefied from what happened. Just now, she was losing her temper against the crowd's objections. And yet, this so-called zombie expert came in with a single question and convinced everyone to follow her. At this point, her head is filled with the idea of finding more about this handsome blonde who keeps on doing miraculous shit. Hilariously, Minseok tells her he doesn't want any credit, even though Hyeri didn't even thank him yet, implying that he can read her like a book. The thing about our boy is that Papa Minseok over here has had about 100 lifetime experiences of being put in dangerous situations, where negotiating was the only way out for their survival. That's how he knows how to defuse and handle them now. At the same time, he assures Hyeri that he's just doing this for his daughter's protection. Extending his hand, the zombie expert encourages Hyeri that he trusts her completely, and knows that she's going to lead them all to success. The woman is astonished by his ridiculous belief in her, but she chooses to focus on what's more important by announcing the start of the escape operation. Declaring herself as Captain Cha Hyeri and their leader, she promises to leave no one behind during this mission. So in the next scene, thanks to the support of buses and other support vehicles, they're able to navigate through the bloodbath on the roads. We get a shot of Dami, who appears to be annoyed, and I'm guessing it's either because of that goofy helmet or that she didn't get to sit next to her father. Leading the operation at the forefront is Hyeri, who steers clear of any danger in their path. At long last, they manage to cross the Han River, which is something that can be considered a monumental achievement ever since the apocalypse broke out. Hyeri doesn't break composure and tells her men to focus up, because they've got other issues to worry about. Speaking of issues, the soldiers unfortunately spot a bunch of grueling zombies in the distance. These ugly bastards are practically mounting on top of each other just to get near them. The captain immediately commences the start of their operation the moment she sees the zombies, and instructs the civilians in Team C to stick to the right lane, while she and her men will aim for the left. Since we've already come this far, let's talk about one specific trait of zombies. Their hearing is heightened much more than their sight. How can one use this to their advantage, you might be wondering? Well, Hyeri beautifully demonstrates this by shoving boxes of metal cans, striking the zombies' faces and creating a bundle of noise. This chain effect of sound causes severe sensory issues for the zombies, causing them to scream and get more aggressive. The point isn't to distract them, but to make them engage and tail their vehicle. Hyeri signals her men to speed up, making sure they're at a safe distance even if the zombies run much faster. The only problem? There's practically an army of zombie marathon runners trying to become the next David Goggins. They're going so fast that it's becoming a concern to keep their distance from them. The captain knows what to do with the gigantic horde, and orders her men to head towards the Seongsan Bridge. The bridge has actually collapsed, and now it's time for us to explore the second most notable trait of zombies. No matter the severity of the situation, their one and only objective is to chase after humans. The intelligent captain exploits this trait by instructing her men to pull a 180 on the vehicle, allowing for a sharp cut just before reaching the edge of the bridge. Meanwhile, the zombies who are charging like hell end up finding it incredibly difficult to break their extremely fast momentum. This results in the entire horde crashing against each other, all the while allowing Hyeri's truck to readjust and take out any zombies nearby. The horde is still far from being wiped out, because a lot of the zombies are still lingering around. This leads us to explore the third trait of these bloodthirsty freak shows. Their weakest part of the body is their back. Basically, the goal is to hit them in the ass, which is what happens when Minseok comes out with a goddamn road roller, grinding their bones to dust. Famously dubbed as the king of the construction vehicles, the road roller makes for an excellent grinding machine to make a flat pizza out of the zombies. To be honest, the way this man is out here glazing this machine almost makes me want to see a road roller or a farming edit. Can't say the same for these zombies though, who are out here getting demolished with our boy grinding them down. Some of them are even stupid enough to approach the giant machine in question, only to get annihilated because of their own mistake. Witnessing the massacre of the zombies leaves Hyeri and her men speechless. Thanks to its massive size, Minseok is able to use the machine to drive all of the zombies at the edge of the bridge, and even throws them right down into the ocean. The scene quickly shifts to the perspective of Dami and the other civilians. As I said, she appears to be bothered about something that happened before they left. We actually get a flashback sequence of their conversation, where she was strongly opposing her father's decision to take on the risky job of helping the soldiers. The one thing she feared most was Minseok's secret accidentally getting revealed in front of the soldiers. Luckily for her though, at present, he appears to have returned in one piece. And yes, the One Piece is real. Funnily enough, back then, he told her he'd be playing a simple role of assisting Hyeri's team. But now that he's back on a damn road roller with the scattered remains of zombies, the girl is at a loss for words. Captain Hyeri jumps out and orders everyone to get behind her because she's spotted a bunch of raging zombies coming right this way. Unfortunately for them, the road roller cruises ahead, obliterating every zombie in sight and clearing an easy path for the civilians to navigate. The survivors successfully make their way out of the threatening area. At last, after a long journey of battling zombies, they've stepped into the protected base of the 2nd Brigade. Let's talk more about the brigade itself. This unit is known for always outlasting for a long time in almost every regression Minseok experienced. It is actually considered an important checkpoint in his overall mission before reaching the safe haven of Daejeon. Now, the fact that they were able to step foot in this place in just the span of 8 days is commendable beyond comparison. Still, his worried dad instincts are starting to kick in, knowing that if he allows himself to become arrogant because of his strength and progress, the same will happen again. Dami is going to be devoured and he will be helpless to do anything about it. Even in this life, he's going to use the same exact roadmap he used in all of his previous lives to prevent as little change as possible. In Minseok's eyes, this is where the real fight begins. But for now, he's getting praised all around, thanks to his collective efforts to save everyone's lives. Even though the soldiers discovered the road roller on their own, none of them knew how to operate the heavy-duty machine. The fact that the zombie expert appears to have some knowledge of it makes them wonder if he's got a background as a construction worker. Minseok denies such claims, and actually reveals that he managed to learn it so that he could help survive better. In a nutshell, they're here without any casualties, which the captain is grateful for. Hilariously, she actually thanks him, but our boy doesn't let it go. He teases her and tries to get another show of gratitude from her, only to get a snappy "shut up" in his face. Their moment is interrupted by the welcoming Sergeant Lee In-hui of the 2nd Infantry Brigade, who salutes the captain with great respect, having anticipated her arrival. Hyeri is rather stunned that these people know about her, something that the sergeant confirms that they heard from Colonel Cha that Hyeri would be arriving soon. At first, Hyeri is stunned, but hilariously the sergeant also shares that the colonel specifically told them to look out for a stubborn female officer, which is something that makes all her men laugh. Ticked off, she looks at them with the glare of death, and demands to know Colonel Cha's location. She's told that he's at the rear gate, as apparently some zombies have arrived out of nowhere. Now this is a shocking realization for the captain, and she's terrified to hear that the colonel went with his own squad to handle the threat. The sergeant calms her down, assuring that nothing of the sort happened, but for some reason, he lets out a nervous smile and averts his eyes, implying that there's more to the story. You see, the badass colonel didn't go with his troops. In fact, he went all on his own, because that's how much of a goddamn badass he is. Let's cut to his side of things. At the rear gate of the brigade, the soldiers are observing the scene from the watchtower, counting down on a new record for the colonel's accomplishment. They sing praises of him clearing the zombies within 35 minutes. Apparently, this guy loves using melee weapons over guns, believing that an axe is a zombie's ultimate kryptonite. Bro makes it harder for himself just to have more of a kick out of it, and enjoys looking at their ugly heads after cutting them off. Meet the Blue Hawk, who is decorated with past achievements, and is currently the commander of the 2nd Infantry Brigade. The soldiers are terrified of his reckless ways and recommend that he use a gun next time, because even though know that if this guy turns into a zombie, the world is going to come to an end. Cha Peng-ho laughs with great joy, unable to imagine a day where he gets bitten by a bunch of dumbass zombies. He even boasts that he's on a different level, so basically they're slow as fudge to this man. Peng-ho is in a class of his own and has ultimately understood their fighting style. Bro even disses his own men, calling them dead weight, which is why he doesn't allow them to join him in a fight. Though the soldiers are offended, they know he's speaking facts. Having cleared the entire group all on his own, the Blue Hawk starts to feel the pain in his joints, unfortunately a consequence of his age. Still, he's bored as hell killing zombies every day, without anyone stepping up to prove him a challenge. Well, I guess his wish is granted because one of the Eater-class zombies actually gets back up again, showing that it's still not down for the count. Peng-ho is astonished to see the creature smiling at him. The vicious zombie lunges at him like a sleep paralysis demon, but before the zombie can do anything, our boy steps over it with his road roller, making tomato paste out of it. The soldiers are at a loss for words, while the colonel is instantly put on guard. Remember his words from earlier, about how he's on a different level and can sense the strength of a zombie? Well, here's the thing. With every step our boy takes, Colonel Cha Peng-ho sees the literal incarnation of death looming over Minseok's body. It's as if he's just uncovered the strongest zombie to date. But to confuse him even more, Minseok introduces himself casually, appearing no different than a human as he mentions his travels with Captain Hyeri. The guy just wants to help out, but the Blue Hawk senses so much terror coming from him that he literally proceeds to assault Minseok at full force. And I'm not even joking. This man looks like he put everything into that axe swing. As his attack is about to connect, the soldiers find themselves frightened to see their colonel attacking innocent civilians like he's gone mad or something. But to their astonishment, the ordinary human, Minseok, has caught the axe with one hand, something considered practically impossible to do at that speed. Minseok's mere presence terrifies the colonel to the point he issues a command to raise an immediate red alert, declaring that the man standing in front of him is not a human, but a monster. Of course, even our boy understands that he can't fool this guy like all the others. So he starts off by name-dropping the colonel's identity, before punching the same axe with so much strength that it breaks apart to pieces. Min-seok insists that he's interested in staying here, so the first thing he's going to do is convince this man that he's clean. At the same time, knowing how the colonel handles things, the zombie expert understands that his words won't be enough. So this time, he'll play the game that Pung Ho loves most. The colonel shows a hint of joy in his smile as the man before him locks up his stance for a fight. The colonel interprets his fighting stance as an invitation to fight. Of course, without even thinking of another thought, the man undoes his straps for a brawl. The Blue Hawk has seen all kinds of crazy fools in his life, but he had no idea that someone like Min-seok would already know of his interest in a fight. The colonel focuses his full attention on our protagonist and launches himself like a nuke descending from the sky, desperately hoping to unravel the mystery of someone like Min-seok. The scene cuts to the soldiers executing the colonel's orders, issuing code red as an alarming warning to its inhabitants. Shocked, Hyeri questions what the hell is going on, but the soldiers aren't ready to say anything yet. They just want to follow orders for now. Suddenly, Captain Guak comes out of the blue, and before Hyeri can even ask him any questions, the man has the audacity to put up a gun in her face, pissing her off. Captain Guak is on high alert because he knows that the monster that attacked their leader just now seems to have some sort of connection with Hyeri after revealing her name. This basically implies that she is also a threat. The word monster baffles her until the soldiers expose Ryu Min-seok's full name according to his own words. Yet again, no one knows about the man's identity, not aside from the outsiders who came to the base. The most worried of all is actually Min-seok's beloved daughter, who seems to fear for her father's sake. Going back to the scene of the battle, this man is out here embracing the power of Saitama. Just a single punch is able to annihilate an entire wall, frightening the colonel as he dodges the attack. The shattered wall is more than enough proof that this man has powers beyond that of a human. In fact, the Blue Hawk thinks that it's almost hilarious that our boy is still holding on to his identity as a human. The colonel's kick is blocked by Min-seok's superhuman reflexes, and not just that. 1 second he's there, blocking the kick, and the very next second, he vanishes into thin air and even has enough time to go all the way around the colonel. Min-seok is ready to destroy this man. But no joke, the Blue Hawk is still crazy fast because he's able to dodge the punch, even after being caught off guard. In that same instance, the colonel retaliates with a powerful jab to Min-seok's face, hitting him clean and dealing some damage. It's crazy to think that he's facing a superhuman zombie and still holding his ground. What a badass. With both of them catching their breath, the colonel grabs Min-seok's collar, accusing him of fucking around and holding back a ton of his strength. That's actually the main reason why he was able to dodge the earlier punch without getting annihilated too. To that, Min-seok confirms his thoughts, agreeing that he is indeed holding back a ton of his strength, because if he truly did go all out, it would result in the colonel's death, and he doesn't want that. The thing is, this isn't just an empty threat that a scrawny kid throws off after a fight with you in the streets. This is coming from a guy who is able to punch literal walls and shatter them. It's not easy for the colonel to accept, but it's true. From the moment they started fighting to until now, every single fiber of his body screamed that there was a towering gap between the two of them. Confused and lost, the colonel scavenges for an explanation, questioning his motives. To put it simply, our boy reveals that he's come here for the simple act of demanding protection. His words are so hilarious that the colonel bursts into a loud laugh, right in his damn face. His reaction is justified, because he just faced the strongest dude on the planet, and this same guy is now asking for protection. Anyone would laugh at that. But then, Min-seok reveals his true cause for concern. He isn't worried about himself, but rather his beloved daughter, Ryu Dami, who is currently surrounded by the soldiers alongside Hyeri. Despite having overwhelming strength, the gentle father only asks for the protection of his daughter, for a chance to stay under the brigade's shelter. His words aren't enough, and he knows that, so Min-seok even gets on his knees. Now that's true love. He doesn't even care about his own ego. He just submitted knowing that it will ensure his daughter's survival. And for that, Min-seok agrees to do anything the colonel asks of him, as long as he can guarantee his side of the deal. That night, the scene shifts to the civilian shelter of the brigade. This facility is home to the casual survivors, but there's a shift in their attitude. Upon hearing the word monster connected to Ryu Min-seok, the civilians are drenched in a sense of terror. They start becoming suspicious of our boy's intentions, and even point out the irregularities in his strength and eye color. As a consequence, everyone is starting to think that he's a zombie. Speaking of our boy, despite everything he did for the colonel that evening, he is still chained up and detained for the time being. He recalls the Blue Hawk's words, who promised to uphold his end of the deal, allowing everyone to stay at the brigade. But his main concern arose when it came to Min-seok himself, especially when a guy like him is incredibly dangerous if left all alone. To that, it was actually Min-seok's personal suggestion to isolate and detain him for as long as it takes, so he can assure and establish trust with the brigade and its people, to show them that he's not a threat. Though he is alone right now, his daughter Dami loves him so much that she came to sneak up on him. She cheers him on from the other side, and that's the happiest feeling for the father, to see his child alive and well. Dami is happy to reveal that right after the emergency warning was lifted, the soldiers genuinely took great care of them, so much so that they allowed her to visit her father. Also, she really didn't like the congested setting of the shelter. Even after enduring so much pain for his daughter's sake, Min-seok apologizes for being unable to keep his promise. She's surprised, but he feels guilty for having betrayed her a second time. At this point, he's starting to think that she really feels disappointed in him for being unable to keep his word. To his surprise, she bangs the window and reminds him of his invaluable contributions. If Zombie Papa over here didn't do what he did, then none of the people would have enjoyed the shelter of the brigade. Instead of feeling guilty about it, she gives him a happy smile and lets him enjoy the feeling of having done it all, even if others disapprove of him. Honestly, I feel really bad for the guy. He tries so hard and the people still judge him for it. But for Dami, she reminds her father one last time that she places complete trust in him. The sweet moment concludes with Dami realizing she's got to run back because of an upcoming roll call. Bidding her father farewell, the girl blazes off, leaving Min-seok satisfied to see her, even in his detained position. But here's the reality. Every step that Dami takes, her emotions engulf and overwhelm her. At a certain point, she begins to weep, which implies that she really did her best to keep a happy face in front of her father. As for Min-seok, he is the exact same. Though they melt at each other's embrace, the reality is, they both feel really bad for being away from each other. A light of hope shines as a certain someone visits Min-seok's cell. It's the sergeant, and he's come to collect him for a meeting with the colonel. In the next scene, the Blue Hawk points to a particular location on the map. It's a station where they suspect multiple survivors to be alive. They actually revealed a signal a few minutes ago, confirming their suspicions. However, among the signals they received, there also appears to be a strange frequency, one that they've yet to identify the cause of. Speed is considered imperative for this operation, and that means their numbers must be efficient to tactically handle everything. This is the reason the colonel has gathered an elite squad, and that squad comprises only 2 people. One is the man himself, the colonel, and the second is our boy Min-seok. Something tells me they're about to run the meanest fade check on these zombies with their 2-man squad. Anyway, the colonel wants to use this opportunity to test Min-seok's resolve and his love for his daughter, so that he can finally see if the father is willing to do everything for her sake. Just after hearing those words, our boy breaks open the chains like he's some goddamn superhero. It's a way of implying that he could always break out of confinement, but didn't for his daughter's sake. Min-seok asks when they're leaving, only for the colonel to smile in amusement. The Blue Hawk declares that they'll leave at once, and oh my god, the way both of them are aura farming in this final shot tells me those zombies are cooked for life. Thus commences the start of the Goopaball Station rescue operation.